with all the beautiful women around. We should be encouraged to be getting married, a stiff body getting married to another stiff body. Mr. Speaker, the activities of the LGBTQ cannot be encouraged in any manner whatsoever. A woman with a soft body getting married to another woman with a soft body, it will not match. Mr. Speaker, in the beginning, God created Adam, and thereafter was Eve. God in his own wisdom never created Adam and Adam. You and I will not be on earth if a man is married to another man and a woman is married to another woman. Mr. Speaker, we will not even have you as a speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will not even be standing here. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I am inclined to say that the countries practicing LGBTQ activity, I gave them 50 years as prophets. They will be extinct on earth. Most of those countries will no longer exist on earth. Very soon, they may even have to be taking labor force from countries not practicing the LGBTQ activity. And Mr. Speaker, that is not the way we want to go. Ghana as a country, our society must not be extinct. Mr. Speaker, I support the passage of this particular bill into law, since it is not in violation of any provision in our 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I look at the Constitution. Chapter 12 from Article 12 is dedicated to fundamental human rights. And you go through it, the bill, if passed to law, will never violate any provision in our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, if you ask them, you are talking.
Speaker, I'm excited that we are at a point of convergence now in this House, that all 275 of us are in support of this bill. Because from the onset, it had been a Herculean task when we were putting together the bill. Originally, we had 4 members on the NDC side and 4 members on the MPP side. But let me use this opportunity to celebrate my brother, the Deputy Minister for Education, Honorable John Ntim Fojo, who remains the sole person from the majority side who joined us to sponsor the bill. Mr. Speaker, my submission would stand, my submission would anchor on 4 legs: traditional, scientific, legal, and religious. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is a culturally rich nation. We have 70 ethnic groups and 80 languages. We have 242 traditional areas that are recognized by the National House of Chiefs. Mr. Speaker, we throw an open challenge to proponents outside of this House, since there's no proponents in this House, of LGBTQ rights, to show us one Ghanaian traditional language or one Ghanaian traditional area that accepts and supports homosexuality. Language is an identifier of an ethnic group. And when you take all the 70 Ghanaian languages, over 70 Ghanaian languages, each one of them has words for things that are natural to the people. Things that are alien, they don't have words for them, they have descriptions for them. So when people say that the white man brought us Christianity, for example, it's incorrect, because when you take our local languages, we have names for the supreme being. and names for lesser deities. In Akan, we have Odumankuma Nyankupon, who is the supreme being, who the Hebrews call Yahweh. Or in Gan, we have Akan Nanyumo. So, God is not a new construct to our language. But when you take things like computer, which are new things to our language, we call it Abefu Efide Enchi. It's a description. When you take telephone, we call it Ahumatrufu or something, a description. And when you take homosexuals, we call them Kodo Besia, Kodo Aoya Ninyama to say Besia. It is a description simply because it is alien to our language. And so when it comes to tradition and our culture, these are alien to our culture. Mr. Speaker, in the West, their culture seems to prohibit polygamy and supports this. People think it's a cultural thing. It's actually not a cultural thing for the West. It's a financial decision. And let's put it to the Western world that because of their tax system, that is why they frown on polygamy, not because of culture. Because when you are a single man in the West, you pay a higher tax. Once you get married to your spouse, your household tax reduces your individual tax liability. So then imagine if they allowed one man to have 4 wives. He will pay less tax to their exchequer. It is about money for the West. That is why they have criminalized polygamy. It's not about culture. And so they should not follow money and ask us to accept something that is culturally reprehensible. Mr. Speaker, let me go to the legal part. Our constitution has been dealt with, but when you read the report, those who argue against this bill say that Ghana is a signatory to international rights, the conventions and treaties. Very true. But Mr. Speaker, what they fail to do is they think that all of us don't read, but some of us do read. And Mr. Speaker, all the conventions that they have quoted in their memos to the committee, we would establish the fallacy of their positions. Mr. Speaker, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights in Article 17 says this: every individual shall have the right to education. 17.2, every individual may freely take part in the cultural life of his community. But 17.3 says, the promotion and protection of morals and traditional values recognized by the community shall be the duty of the state. This is the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. So it says the promotion of morals and traditional values. So what morals are we talking about? What traditional values are we talking about? This is the convention Ghana has signed up to. And so this bill is in line with that convention. In fact, Article 18 of the same African Charter says the family shall be the natural unit and basis of society. It shall be protected by the state, which shall take care of its physical health and morals. The state shall have the duty to assist the family, which is the custodian of morals and traditional values recognized by the community. So if we say the family, what is the family? Is it a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a woman with their children? We have our traditional values. Mr. Speaker, they always make reference to the UN Declaration on Human Rights. The UN Declaration on Human Rights in Article 2, I read, it says everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind. And these are the distinctions it makes: race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth or other status. Mr. Speaker, I want to make it clear in this hallowed chamber that there is a clear distinction between sex and gender. Complete distinction. Sex is a biological construct. Gender is a social construct. Sex is binary, male or female. It is the source code for even computer science, 0 and 1. To be a male, you have the XY chromosome. To be a female, you have the XX chromosome. There is no other combination known to science. However, gender is a social construct. That is why in some countries, as we speak today, they have 48 gender identities. In some, they have 100. So gender is a social construct. In this country, our social construct of gender is male and female, as our constitution demands and recognizes. So, Mr. Speaker, even the UN Declaration on Human Rights does not make gender the basis for discrimination or enjoyment of rights. It says sex, and once it is sex, it is male and female. So if you change your sex as assigned at birth, cosmetically or surgically, you are flouting the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights in Article 18.3, again another international convention they quote, it says the freedom to manifest one's religion or beliefs may be subject only to such limitations as are prescribed by law and are necessary to protect, here is the cause, public safety, public order, public health, or morals or the fundamental rights and freedoms of others. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the Ghana AIDS Commission's own data, men having sex with men are a prevalent cause of the increase in HIV/AIDS in our country. So we have a duty to protect public morals and a duty to protect public health, because the consequence of an increasing HIV prevalence is on the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, even when you go to the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control in the US, the statistics are clear that persons who are heterosexuals, the effect on their mental health, heterosexuals are 2.3% likely to contemplate suicide. Gays and lesbians are twice that, 4.6%. Bisexuals are almost 3 times that, 7.4%. As for transgenders, 30.8%. Mr. Speaker, the fact is clear. And Honorable Muntaka, in his submission, the Honorable Member for Asawasi, referred to homosexuality as madness. Mr. Speaker, in science, because until 1974, it was only 1974 that the American Psychiatric Association delisted homosexuality as a mental illness. In fact, anybody who studied any of the mental science manuals, which is the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, before 1974, homosexuality was listed as a mental illness along with necrophilia, zoophilia, and pedophilia. The decision in 1974 to delist it as a mental illness was not based on science. It was based on an opinion poll of only 6,000 people. So clearly, homosexuality is a form of madness and mental illness, and what they need is psychological care. Mr. Speaker, the Human Genome Project, and that's on science, the Human Genome Project is a $3 billion funded project by the government of the United States of America, which is the biggest investigation into the human genome. This project spanned 20 universities in the United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, and South Korea. And what they tried to do was to map out the human DNA to identify the genome. Mr. Speaker, they were able to identify the genetic marker that makes somebody like me. I only smell the food and I grow big. And there are some other people, they can eat 10 balls of kenke, they won't grow big. Like Sosu. All of this is genetic. What makes you have a bald head like Okujeto or black one, or have an afro like Sam George? All of these are genetic markers. Mr. Speaker, the Human Genome Project was able to identify the genetic marker that makes men have feelings, emotional attractions to women. It was able to identify the genetic marker that makes women attracted to men. It could not find any genetic marker that makes men attracted to men or women attracted to women. It makes me understand why Honorable Eslawusu did not have affections for Honorable Abina Asare, but rather found Mr. Ekufu attractive. Mr. Speaker, she even sits next to the handsome Mr. Atachia, Honorable Atachia, because it is a genetic thing. Mr. Speaker, let us serve notice, Mr. Speaker, that Honorable Ahia, for his submission, said in 50 years there will be migration. Well, he doesn't need to wait 50 years. It's happening today. It says they will be extinct. In fact, extinction comes when they lack people. Currently, most of the Western countries are attracting our finest brains here and offering migration programs to bring people in there because their workforce has been depleted. They have an overage population. Because, Mr. Speaker, like it is attributed to Robert Mugabe, if you put 2 men in a room and give them 12 months to produce as an offspring, they cannot produce an offspring. And so, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to stand here. But let me use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to celebrate Mr. Speaker, who has been a stalwart and a bastion for this bill. But for Mr. Speaker, this bill would most likely have been killed. Mr. Speaker has stood his ground and ensured that this bill has come this far. And I want to use this opportunity with the support of my colleague members of Parliament, since we all support this bill, to serve notice to the Western powers that we have taken judicial notice of what they have done to the Speaker of Uganda. After Uganda passed the bill, the sanctions on the Speaker of Uganda's Parliament and on the sponsors of those bills, we will serve notice as well that if they replicate same with our Speaker and members of Parliament, we will also take action against their business interest in our country, because they serve in this country and make money from here and take back home. They cannot hold us to ransom. And like has been asked on this floor, Mr. Speaker, why is it that the American Secretary of State has not sanctioned the Secretary of Defense? Because June was declared Pride Month and they had transgender parades. The US Secretary of Defense blocked and stopped a transgender parade on a US Air Force base because he said the US Pentagon, which is their defense headquarters, would not support such activity. Governor DeSantis has passed legislation against open transgender parades in Florida. Why have they not taken on their own citizens? In fact, in 2022 alone, there were 433 actions in State House of Legislatures across the United States banning and clamping down on homosexuality. The Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, just last week passed a landmark judgment enforcing the rights of American citizens to refuse to offer services to people on the basis of their faith and because they were LGBTQ. Mr. Speaker, it shows you that even America has realized the error of their judgment and are walking back their steps. Italy in June designated June also as Family Protection Month to counter the Pride Month. Maybe that's something Ghana should begin to consider, that we make June a Family Values Month to celebrate the Ghanaian family value. But Mr. Speaker, in wrapping up, Mr. Speaker, I just want to state that the dangers of homosexuality are great. Persons who are homosexuals or transgenders, per statistics from the CDC, have at least 6 times higher rates of obesity, substance abuse, and suicidal thoughts than heterosexual people. This has a consequence for our health bill as a country and public health, and we cannot turn a blind eye to this.
They cited 2014 Afrobarometer survey conducted by Center for Democratic Development, CDD, to substantiate their argument. In the said survey, 86% of Ghanaians supported attempt by Parliament to legislate against same-sex marriage, while 11% disapproved. They opined that the polls reflect the will of the people and that Parliament, as a representation of the people, must act in accordance with the Constitution, particularly Article 1, which states that the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised. End of quotation. Consequently, Parliament is obliged to uphold the sovereign will of the people. They further intimated that the bill seeks to consolidate and strengthen the efforts at safeguarding the institution of marriage. In their view, the system of marriage is for biological males to marry their biological females or the opposite sex, and for the two to bring up their children. They argue further that LGBTQ activities are not only affront to the socio-cultural values of Ghana, but also threatens the very existence of society. They dispute the claim that sexual orientation preferences are genetic, explaining that literature do not support such assertion. They explain that according to literature, all tested genetic variants accounted for only 8 to 25% of variation in same-sex sexual behavior, meaning that significant proportion of 75% of sexual behavior is accounted for by cultural and environmental factors. Therefore, in their view, the decision to be gay or lesbian or bisexual is a choice, with no justifiable reference to genetics. Study conducted by Ghana in 2019 investigating journals was cited to support their position. Further, argument canvassed in support the bill was the health implications of LGBTQ activities. A study conducted by U.S. Center for Disease Control in 2018 was cited to buttress their assertion. According to the survey, over 65% of HIV infection among adults and adolescents was attributed to male-to-male sexual contact in the United States. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, HIV, was cited. In the national context, data from the Ghana AIDS Commission showed that in 2017, there were 54,759 men who had sex with men living in Ghana. Out of this number, 9,857, representing 18.1%, were found to be with HIV. According to the Commission, although the number represents only 2% of the HIV population in the country, the 18% prevalence rate is enough for disease to grow exponentially. Now I come to arguments raised against the passage of this bill. On the other hand, some other institutions, groups and individuals, including Human Rights Coalition, Ghana AIDS Commission, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Key Watch Ghana, Intersex Ghana, among others, are opposed to the passage of the bill. They advance the following arguments in support of their position. They contend that the passage of the bill into law will violate the provisions of Article 1, Clauses 1 and 2 of the 1992 Constitution. The said articles place obligation on the government to exercise its functions according to the dictates of the Constitution, and that any other law found to be inconsistent with the provision of the Constitution shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. They premise their position on the provisions in Articles 12.2, 17.1, and Article 21A, B, and E of the Constitution, which guarantees equality before the law, prohibits all forms of discrimination, and the freedom of expression, thought, conscience, belief, and association, as well as media and academic freedom.
Honorable Anemba, Speaker, yes, you are minded to, Speaker, focus on the debate. I don't want Speaker, I'm guided. I've always been focused, Mr. Speaker, but the impression must not be created that the bill was watered down. Mr. Speaker, what the other debaters on this matter fail to address is the issue that it is not mainly about the sexual lifestyles of a man and a woman, or a man and a man, and a woman and a woman. Mr. Speaker, as sponsors of the bill, Mr. Speaker, that's a harsh kind of,
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Member for Temale Central, please kindly withdraw that statement. Honorable Member for Temale Central, please. We are telling all of us together. Please withdraw that statement. No, I overheard you. Honorable Motala, I overheard you. Please just withdraw the statement. Motala. Honorable Motala, you are my friend. Please do me that honest. Honorable Motala.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
If the hazard comes and whatever statement you think I said is in it.
Honorable Motala, I heard it myself. That is why I am.
Mr. Speaker, at the time you think I said something, this honorable member also said certain things. What did she say? What did she say?
Honorable Motala.
She said a man. She said that.
Honorable Motala.
She said that, Mr. Speaker.
You do your withdrawal.
Withdraw what?
Honorable members, are you allowing me to control the house? Honorable Motala. Honorable Motala.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, you just do the honor for me.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, just do the honors for me.
Mr. Speaker, I will do what you are asking me to do.
Yes.
But as far as I'm concerned, and the last time I checked, our conduct here is guided by the Constitution and the standing orders of the House. And there is nowhere in the standing orders or the practice of this Parliament that I have seen in my young age in this Parliament that a statement that is purportedly made, not captured in the Speaker, should be a statement of the House.
Honorable member.
Mr. Speaker, now if you are asking me to withdraw any statement, I don't know which statement you are asking me to withdraw. I am only withdrawing a statement which perhaps the Speaker heard me make, and I don't know the statement you heard me make. So I am withdrawing the statement.
Honorable Motala, don't push me to that angle. I overheard you. I'm saying just withdraw for me.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, you cannot ask me to do something and I refuse to do it. Several statements were made by myself and my colleagues, including Honorable SNOA-F. Which of the statements are you asking me to withdraw?
So, are you inviting me to say what is to be said? Honorable Motala, member for Temale Central, I'm saying what you said that just withdraw from me. Honorable Motala, I'm asking you, I am not going to rehearse the words you say. You know what you say. Please just Honorable Minority Leadership, I will instruct that you urge your member to withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, the statement I remember I made several statements, but the statement I remember vividly I made, I said every single member in this house must be allowed to debate on the issue, so we know the position of every single member of this house, those who are for it and those who are against it. I have made that statement. So if that is the statement you are asking me to withdraw, I humbly withdraw that statement.
Honorable member, you made a specific statement in relation to the minister. Leader, please urge your member to withdraw that statement.
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Murtala is reported to have made statement.
It's Murtala, not Muntaka.
Honorable Murtala Mohammed is reported to have made a statement that is apparently unparliamentary. Mr. Speaker, listening to him, he is of the view that he never spoke to the mic. The Speaker, the Speaker, listening to him also, he has indicated that he made a number of statements not into the mic. And so therefore, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable, yes.
And so therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge him that since the Speaker may have heard it, whatever he said, even though he did not speak into the mic, we may have heard it. I urge him to withdraw whatever he may have said. That unfortunately, you heard it, even though he did not speak to the mic, for him to withdraw it and get it removed. So, Speaker, I urge my colleague, the Honorable Murtala, to accordingly withdraw whatever statement in the interest of progress. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging him to withdraw whatever statement that he made, even though it did not go into the mic, so that we can make progress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, every single statement I have made, I am withdrawing every single statement. But Mr. Speaker, it is fair that Honorable Eslo-Usu, strangely, the Honorable former minister seated by her is not aware she made some statement. Also withdraw every statement she made.
If you are finished, it's okay. Honorable Minister, can you apologize for the gestures that you...
Mr. Speaker, I sat here and repeatedly heard Honorable Murtala refer to me as a practitioner of LGBT to the hearing of everyone in this house. I sat here and repeatedly heard him
Honorable Minister,
shout at the top of his voice and refer to me as a practitioner of LGBTQ. And every single last one of you is behaving as if you didn't hear it. And if in response to that I say he is mad, it is only a madman who will refer to his colleague in this house as a practitioner of LGBTQ. When you haven't seen me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable Minister.
When you haven't caught me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable Minister.
And refer to me in those terms. In those terms.
Honorable Minister.
And we call ourselves honorable members of this house. When you all hear it and pretend that suddenly you've lost your sense of hearing.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, do me that honest, please. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, just do me that honest, please. Just do me that honest.
Mr. Speaker, we're all honorable members of Parliament, and with respect to the titles that we bear and the constituencies that we represent, if there's any gesture I made which anyone here finds offensive, I withdraw it. However, let us all also be honest and admit
Honorable
that
Minister,
things happen here
Honorable
which are
Minister,
wrong.
thank you very much. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Honorable members, please, this particular bill is so much interested to almost every Ghanaian. So let us put ourselves together in this particular bill. I don't actually take any delight in these gestures and people also taking insinuation on members. Please, you'll get opportunity to contribute if the time is allowed. Members, as I said, we would like to employ members that at least for this particular bill, we move together. And therefore, all the insinuations, innuendos, vilifications, and the like must cease so that you'll be able to move together. On that note, whatever Honorable Mutala said, if the records captured, I direct that is expunged. In a similar way, whatever Honorable Osla also said, if it was also captured on our records, I direct that those records are expunged. I so direct. Honorable members, I'll therefore have a singular honor to put the question. And the question is, as many as are in favor of the motion listed in today's order paper 18, item listed 18, all those in favor of the motion say aye. All those against say no. Honorable members, it is obvious the ayes have it. The motion is adopted.
An act to provide for proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, proscribe LGBTQ+ and related activities, proscribe propaganda of advocacy for or promotion of LGBTQIAAP+ and related activities, provide for the protection of and support for children, persons who are victims or accused of LGBTQIAAP+ and related activities, and other persons and related matters.
The promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian Value Bill 2021 is accordingly read a second time. Yes, leadership.
Let's proceed to consideration.
Yes, leadership.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Health has been with us since morning. The Minister of Health has been with us since morning.